So I recently decided that I want to do some testing on weapon talents. Obviously, I've been using Ridgeway's Pride quite a bit. You know, the chest piece that gives you basically bleed status effects on targets within 15 meters, and then you get regen off of those targets within 15 meters. Now, I've been using it a lot, just because it's obviously something new, something different, so I've been basically just testing out everything I can with it, just random different stuff. But so far, I've kind of avoided weapons. So what I ended up doing was I just bought a bunch of SMGs from the vendor in the base of operations, and then basically just changed the talents on them. So I had, like 4 or 5 copies of the same weapon with different talents. And the whole reason for this was I wanted to see what talents actually do work the best for a specific build. Now, honestly, there is no simple answer of what talent is the best. There are some things that I can tell you from the testing that I did, though. If you want the strongest damage on a bleeding target, you're going to have to go with Sadist. Now, Sadist, the talent description is actually wrong. It says it's going to be, 20% weapon damage to bleeding enemies. It's more like 20% amplified damage to bleeding enemies. Actually, I'm pretty sure it's exactly 20% amplified damage to bleeding targets because that's what the math said that I was getting. Now, I know a lot of people are actually using in sync because it says, 30% weapon damage versus 20% weapon damage. So those were the 2 main talents that I actually focused on. And yes, Sadist does do more damage than in sync. Now, before you start actually just going out and changing all of your, your weapon rolls to, Sadist or just trying to grind for Sadist, there is a reason why you might not actually want to have Sadist. And it's basically just tied to bleed, Obviously, you have to have bleed to make Sadist work. If you are past 15 meters, you're not going to get the target bleeding, and then you're not going to get any benefit from your weapon. And of course, if you're a huge fan of PvP, and you're fighting enemies that have, 90 or 100% hazard protection, 100% bleed resistance, whatever, you're not going to be getting any bonus damage from your weapon. So having something like in sync where you're actually getting that bonus regardless of them being bled or not is definitely a benefit, something to consider in your build. So you might want to just have one weapon with Sadist and another weapon with something like in sync or whatnot. Now, of course, I did test the other ones, like Strained, Optimist, Measured. I tested pretty much all of them. Vindictive, Close and Personal, I think it is. I did look through them. I tested them out. I tried them. And honestly, they all work, normal. There's no real huge shock there. There's nothing different there. I wouldn't recommend any of those ones. I mean, for reasons that you could probably imagine. I don't really like on-kill talents on my weapon just because usually, if you're using a weapon for PvP, on-kill is something that you kind of want to stay away from just because if you're fighting somebody who's equal to you but you're using an on-kill talent and they're using a just, generally active all the time talent, they're probably going to win if you're both equally skilled in using the same kind of build. So it's definitely a negative there. And some of the other ones, I do like Strained, but, when you have to fire a weapon, especially like a fast-firing weapon, you don't really get the ability to build it up and actually take full use of something like Strained. Optimist is good as well, but again, just the build-up process alone really kind of negates a lot of the damage increase that you're going to be getting because, obviously the first half of your magazine isn't going to be doing that much and the second half is going to be doing more. I mean, if you have in sync, your entire magazine is going to be doing that 30%, whereas if you have Optimist, you're basically going to be going from 0 to 30 over the course of your entire magazine. So, generally speaking, you're only going to be getting, roughly about 15% in total. So, there's reasons to stay away from a lot of these talents. But yeah, that's really all I wanted to cover. Something that I didn't know personally because I don't really use Sadist, and this is really the first time I've ever actually gone through the testing to actually figure it out because, one of the most common things in Division is, not to believe what the actual talent says. Go test it out, figure out what it does, if it works properly or if it doesn't, because you'll never know if it's actually working or what it's going to give you if you don't actually try it out. And in this case, 20% amplified damage is a lot more powerful than 20% weapon damage. But either way, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one.